pestilence used to come and disappear naturally. Accounts of past pandemics have become important works of literature, like Samuel Pepys' diaries that provide a first-hand account of the 1665 outbreak of bubonic plague in London. A journal of the plague year, Daniel Defoe's 1722 novel of the 1665 outbreak, which may have been based on his own uncle's diaries, inspired the name of the project. Accounts like these are rich in fascinating historical detail, but they are limited in the voices they present. After examining the perspectives and consequences of Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, Chris Colvin and Johan McLaughlin have noted three lessons that could enlighten us to deal with present and future damages caused by COVID-19 pandemic of 21st century. First, communicable disease control policy works. The public health response to the spread of the disease must focus on containment. Timely steps of the government helped containment of the Spanish flu. Where the government failed, there the 1919 pandemic resulted in human loss, deaths, and physical and mental health consequences. Second, good information was key to disease control. The reason why the 1918 pandemic resulted in so many deaths was that so many people caught the disease in the first place. The third lesson is that we must prepare for the economic and human consequences of the virus and act to minimize its impact. Uh, Anirban Mukhopadhyay has dealt with epidemic in Bengali literature. In his review article titled Sharad Babur Quarantine, Bankimer Morok, Bangla Sahitte, Mohamari, Quarantine of Sharad Babu, Pestilence of Bankim, Epidemic in Bengali Literature. He said, like the disorder caused by scarcity, crop loss, turbulence created by Maratha bandits, people consider the pestilence and epidemic as one turmoil. During 1770, that is Bengali year 1176, poet Ram Prasad composed his famous song Anno Deva Annoda, Oh bread giver mother, give me food. Srikanto is one of the famous classical novels of the Bengali novelist Sharat Chandra Chattopadhyay of colonial India. The novel consists of four parts. These were written over a period of more than 16 years in 1917, 1918, 1927, and 1933. In the second part of this novel, Srikanto's voyage to Rangoon, Burma, present Myanmar, and his stay there have been narrated in details. The Bengali literature has mentioned about quarantine in the second part of his classical Bengali novel Srikanto. Sharachandra said that the suffering and pain of the quarantine had been borne by the poor. It is evident from the narratives of Sharachandra Chattopadhyay that the attributes of modern state has been emerging gradually at that time in the Indian subcontinent. The British colonial governments had arranged the quarantine camps for the outsiders. A global pandemic like COVID-19 was inevitable. In recent years, hundreds of health experts have written books, white papers, and op-eds warning of the possibility. Bill Gates has been telling anyone who would listen, including the 18 million viewers of his TED talk in 2018, that America was not ready for the pandemic that would eventually come. The Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security warned what might happen if a new coronavirus swept the globe. And at last, the whole world has been swept by the attack of novel coronavirus. 2 points have emerged from the above mentioned narratives. One is scientists have been able to discover, innovate, predict, and warn about the danger of new deadly virus. They can even suggest about necessary measures, but they have no capacity to implement it by their own. And number two is only the state, a strong state machinery, or so to say, political order, can implement the suggestions made by the scientists. In his article, The Pandemic and Political Order, it takes a state published in the July-August 2020 issue of Foreign Affairs. American political scientist Francis Fukuyama has identified the factors in the successful management of COVID-19 pandemic. The three elements, a stable state, social trust, and citizens' response to decision of the leadership have constituted the main elements of political order. As I have mentioned also it earlier, a stable state survives through crisis. Social trust is the key determinant of social and economic development as well as of human being well-being. Without trust in others' actions, people may have to consider too many contingencies and uncertainties to take action, destroying the foundation of community and society. On the other hand, turning the decisions of government's leadership into effective action depends on winning the support of millions of people. The inability of the political order can lead to disorder and instability in society. In society, another American political scientist, Samuel P. Huntington, in his 1968 classical work "Political Order in Changing Societies," as I have mentioned it earlier also, introduced the concept of political order in the domain of political science. The analytical insight of this book is astonishing and cemented Samuel Huntington's reputation as one of the foremost political scientists of his generation. Before his death in 2008, and for its relevance even in the age of third wave democratization. Huntington's book was republished in 2006 with a foreword by Francis Fukuyama. Later on, following Huntington's idea, Francis Fukuyama uh, has written a book titled uh, The Origins of Political Order from Pre-Human Times to the French Revolution, and it was published in 2011. Acha. Then effectiveness of the approach of political order for managing the spread of COVID-19. Francis Fukuyama says, as I mentioned earlier, the factors responsible for successful pandemic responses have been state capacity, social trust, and leadership. Countries with all three, a competent state apparatus, a government that citizens trust and listen to, and effective leaders, have performed impressively, limiting the damage they have suffered. Countries with dysfunctional states, polarized societies, or poor leadership have done badly, leaving their citizens and economies exposed and vulnerable. He further observed that some countries have done better than others in dealing with the crisis so far, and there is every reason to think those trends will continue. It is not a matter of regime type. Some democracies have performed well, but others have not. And the same is true for autocracies. The countries that have been successful in managing the transmission of COVID have been due to its political order. Different countries have responded different ways. Singapore, Hong Kong, South Korea, Germany, and New Zealand each provide different examples of how to limit the initial spread of the virus. With different policy mixes, Hong Kong, for example, never had a rigid lockdown. New Zealand ordered social distancing early and hard. These different approaches were informed by scientific findings, but they resulted from political decisions, not science. In South Asia, Bhutan has, as I mentioned earlier, has become a successful example for the management of COVID transmission. The Health Ministry of Bhutanese royal government, in its Facebook status, maintains our small nation is no exception, and we too are in the midst of the COVID-19 battle. Studies globally have shown that a strong and dynamic leadership is the key to fighting the virus. Luckily for us, in our king, we have a leadership that is unparalleled, which is further substantiated by a strong political will. Our fight against this pandemic has been truly exemplary. However, a strong leadership alone cannot save our nation. All of us have a responsibility to play and support our leaders to win this battle. Bhutan has been recognized as a successful South Asian country that has been able to contain the spread of COVID-19 with no death of coronavirus as of now. The countries that have been failed to manage the issues, they have also problems with their political order. And then concluding remarks. Since December 2019, when the novel coronavirus disease was detected in Wuhan province of China, researchers across the world have been working hard to understand better the biology of the virus and epidemiology of the disease. The estimated basic reproductive number of the virus is significantly higher than many other infectious diseases, and this can potentially result in the capacity of health facilities becoming overwhelmed, even in the countries that have the most developed healthcare systems. At a time of crisis, innovation is critical to accelerating solutions. While research is the only way to find the solutions, appropriate approach helps to show the right path. The process of innovation falls into two categories: closed innovation and open innovation. In the current pandemic, innovation needs to not just provide a solution but also expedite it. The main purpose of open innovation is to provide solutions to problems real fast, to put out fires, stop the suffering, relieve bottlenecks, and tighten the weakest links. In the current crisis, what is needed in many parts of the world are solutions to controlling the spread of the virus, tracing patients and their contacts, and addressing the need for adequate healthcare infrastructure to care for those who are suffering. Research works on the basis of the approach of political order can show the path of solution for proper management of COVID-19 pandemic and for future pandemics. Thank you very much for giving me a patience hearing. Uh, I think I stop now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. It was really a wonderful session, sir. I believe the participants, I don't know whether they have placed questions. Shiva Shakti ma'am,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
are you there?
Yes, yes.
So, like, should we just open up, like, for participants to ask questions? I think we have time.
No, ma'am. Participants.
Or should we?
No.
They haven't asked any, na, questions?
Yes, ma'am.
No questions there in the panel, in the question answer zone. Only one person has raised his hands. Dr. Joseph.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
Right, they can unmute.
He's.
Right, sir? Ravi,
No,
sir?
participants are not available, ma'am.
Okay.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Professor Goswami,
Yeah,
your presentation is on the latest situation based on political science and latest researches. Okay.
yeah.
But my question is how to overcome the political awareness on management of COVID-19, and my suggestion is that we should take more researches on development and developing a model regarding effective management of COVID-19 in future. So what do you think, sir?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yes, you are correct in that sense. That is why I wanted to focus on the research on the management of COVID, because scientists predict that more viruses are coming in future. So, and if we can discover or invent some uh, vaccine for present COVID-19 diseases, uh, it may not work for the future viruses. So, what we need to do is to uh, devise how to manage the spread or manage the transmission, to stop the transmission of the virus, so that people can be in safety. So that is the main focus. And for that reason, political order, the approach of political order is very much necessary, because uh, you see, in democracies like India, in democracies like Bangladesh, and also in other parts of the world, and also in the autocracies, some democracies have done very well, and some autocracies also done very well, and also some autocracies done very bad, and also some democracies have also done very bad. So good and bad also there. But if political order is effective, and if it depends on the effectiveness of the political order, and government can decide, scientists can suggest, government can decide. But if people are not ready to follow the government's instructions, then that is a problem. You you see in Dhaka also, we when we go out or sometime you wear this face masks and this is shield, face shield, and that is we want to maintain the social distancing or physical distancing. But if you go out on the street, you will see that most of the people are not using these face masks, and they are very much unaware about maintain the social distancing or physical distancing. And so this has become that is why we need to live with the pandemic. At the same time, we need to understand uh, how to manage it, and that the management, total management, it depends on the political order. It depends on the effectiveness of political order. And if we follow the government's instructions, yes, government has, and it depends on the also on the whether people have trust on the government's instructions. That is also a good aspect to for effectiveness of political order. Thank you. Have any question?
Right. I really agree that like it's really a very relevant topic, and especially people are, to be very honest, they are also psychologically being affected, right, sir? Like
Yeah.
thinking about COVID, they are very much psychologically being affected, and even you may term like whether educated or non-educated person, like the management part, it's really lacking, sir.
Yes.
Because most of the people, what we say that now we have to live with pandemic, so we have nothing to do. So that the attitudinal changes required, isn't it so?
Yeah. Yes. You are right. You are right. You are right.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It's really a very relevant topic, and sir has related to the statistical, the current scenario very beautifully, sir.
Yes. Thank you.
That-
Is it?
that-
Yes.
Sorry,
Yes.
there is one question has come now in the box now. Can I read it?
Right,
Yeah,
sir.
The alternative ways for surviving from the economic crisis caused by the pandemic may please be explained. The alternative ways for surviving from the economic crisis caused by the pandemic.
I mean, the question is about that we loss, economic loss of the pandemic, something like
You
that.
are right.
Yeah. Economic loss. You see, and you see that the growth rate has fallen in every country, including Bangladesh and India. In Bangladesh, I can say one thing that is earlier the poverty. The poverty level in Bangladesh has been coming down. It has come down about only 23%. But the researchers have found that uh, after the coming of this COVID pandemic, this poverty level has risen up by more than, now it has come about 43%, more than 43%, something like that. Because due to lockdown and other things, people could the people day to day earning, those people who are living on their day to day earning, they could not go out for their something like a small business they are doing, some feriwala or hawkers are there, they could not do their works. So the rickshaw pullers, they could not do their works. So there was a problem. Government has provided some relief for their. So you keep in the in room in your house, will provide food for you. But how many times government can provide food for them? And that is why for making up the economic losses, government has gradually relaxing the restrictive measures. And so now markets are open. People can move whatever they want to do, and now people are doing business there. But another thing is that agriculture in Bangladesh, I can cite the example of Bangladesh. The agriculture sector, that is paddy production of paddy was bumper in Bangladesh. So I think in Bangladesh at least there will be no food crisis. Yes, the rate of growth has has been coming down. That is also right. And it is also true for every country, I think. But for example, a transport business was halted. The air traffic was not moving. It was also stopped. Railway was not moving. Everything was stopped. So economic activities were not there. So economic growth was also decreased. That is why now governments are trying to recover all the, and there are different, and in the budget of in 2021 financial, the budget of Bangladesh for 2021, government has made provision for this subsidy and all other things for the affected sectors. For example, for garment sectors, for agriculture sectors, for journalists, for artists. You see, the artists, those who are living on their performances, they, they were almost in their home, so they could not perform. So they were also in problem. Journalists were also in problem. So problems were everywhere. In the private sector also, they suffered a lot. Private sector. In Dhaka city, I have seen that there are kindergarten schools, small kindergarten schools are there. They have sold out, just closed the schools, and they had no capacity to restart these schools because for these financial losses. So financial losses are everywhere. So economic growth has been stalled, and governments and people are trying to uh, survive from that crisis situation. So pandemic is very serious. So that is why we need to know how to manage the pandemic. Pandemics will be coming in near future. It is not the end. This coronavirus, second, this is not the end pandemic. In near future, in future, more pandemics are coming. So people need to understand and need to, adapt, need to devise different uh, strategies how to keep alive in a pandemic situation, in a crisis situation. That needs to be, I think, devised. And for that reason, we need to do research on the management of COVID-19. Scientists are doing research on virus and how to kill the virus, how to they are trying to discover the medicine, invent the medicine and vaccines. They are doing their part. But society and in politics, the people are very much unconscious, and so here comes the questions of political order. Only the government can, and if people support the government's actions, uh, uh, that that is very necessary. And for that reason, research on this area is very much essential. That is the main thing. Thank you.
Very rightly said, sir. Like at this pandemic situation, this is not the end, right? So management part is really very important, and research needs to be conducted, and government order needs to be maintained. That's it's very important, and it's very relevant.
Yes.
Is there any other question? Ravi, sir?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
There is nothing else. That's it.
So, are you sure?
Thank you so much, Professor Arun Kumar sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes. Welcome. Thank you.
স্যার অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ স্যার।
Yes, ধন্যবাদ। আপনাকে ধন্যবাদ।
আপনি ইন্ডিয়াতে ভার্চুয়ালি আসছেন, অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ। Thank you so much. And
Yes.
Nandri, we say thank you in Tamil. Sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
நன்றி வணக்கம்.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your time, sir.
Yes.
So should we push off to the second session?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Hemlata madam is already there.
Dr. Hemlata, ma'am, unmute yourself.
Okay. So may I now take the pleasure to introduce Professor Hemlata madam. Professor Hemlata Listra is a distinguished and internationally well-received expert in education, including teaching, writing, research, and administration. An eminent educationist, CCM fellow, board member, Indian representative, Chairman, Rajasthan Council of Educational Administration and Management, that is RCEAM, Coordinator, International Forum for Global Social Justice, Education and Empowerment, and board member of World Constitution and Parliament Association. Professor Talisra Madam is presently working as a director in Smith K.B. Dave College of Education, Pilway, Gujarat, India. Earlier, she worked as a reader in education at Center of Advanced Studies in Education, MSc University, Baroda, Gujarat. Director, Research Professor and Heads Department of Education, Jain Vishwa Bharati University, Lucknow, Rajasthan, India, and Professor Vidya Bhavan, GSIASE, Udaipur. Professor Talisra has valuable published work in the form of more than 300 research papers published in international and national journals and 34 written edited books. She has completed 20 research projects under the Commonwealth Foundation London, UGC and ERIC NCERT. 20 research scholars completed their PhD degree and more than 1,000 MEd and MPhil students completed their dissertations under her supervision. She has been awarded Lifetime Achievement Award by CCEAM, India, CCEAM Fellow Award at Hobart, Australia, John Dalby Award by Lizzie Swanee Program, Mumbai, Sardar Patel Education Development and Peace Award, Vinoba Dev Peace Award, Gandhi Shanti Prastisthan Award, and honored by a number of organizations for her outstanding contribution in education. She has been working as expert in RPSC and different universities, also visited more than 55 countries to attend CEAM board meetings and presentations and organizing a number of international and national conferences. So it's my pleasure, in fact, it's a great pleasure to have you with us, madam. Over to you, madam, for your valuable words.
So can I start?
Dr. Hemlata, ma'am, welcome
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Oh, thank you very
Welcome
much.
you, ma'am,
Thank you.
on behalf of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education
Thank
University and Three College of Education.
A very warm greeting to all of you. Professor M. Govindaraj, Dr. T. Shivashakti Madam, Dr. Bobby, Dr. Wasif, Dr. Kishori is also here, and the other resource persons who are attending this webinar, learned delegates. First of all, I congratulate and greet the organizers who organized such a useful webinar and give me a chance to present my thoughts on the significance of research methodology. First of all, present my today's presentation outline. I am presenting number 1 point is why research methodology is important. What is research methodology? Research methodology in New Education Policy 2020. Research methodology as a process for success in research. Role of research methodology to design the research. Which points made the research methodology significant and how research methodology is different from research methodology. And lastly, how to write research methodology. So I am taking my first slide. Here is the research methods in between, and the research methodology is controlling all of them. So in my view, the research methodology provides us the necessary and choosing methods, materials, tools, and training in techniques relevant to the problem chosen. When we choose the problem, so there are so many areas, so many problems, but the research methodology provides us the chance to select a good research problem and work on the research problem effectively. And my second slide is, what is research methodology? In my point of view, the research methodology is a systematic way to solve the problem. It is the pivot in which the success of all research depends. It helps to understand the procedure and technique of research. It refers to rigorous analysis of methods applied in the research. It ensures that the conclusions drawn are valid, reliable, and creditable. It is the theoretical analysis of methods and principles associated with the research. Now I am saying about some new education policy. The National Education Policy 2020 was approved by the Union Cabinet of India on 29 July 2020. And the National Education Policy Foundation will create as a body for fostering a strong research culture and building research capacity and build across higher education. New Education Policy 2020 also emphasized the need of strengthening research, innovations in 21st century as a strong and enlightened knowledge society, catalyzing quality academic research in field through a new research or national research foundation to see the all researches. The research methodology is significant for the success of research. It is important to completion the successful, all the research work and the different type of researches, both in scientific and non-scientific studies. Research methodology is an important component to choose the suitable research problem, suitable research method, procedure for systematic data collection and field work, technique of analysis, statistics applied, and report writing also. In this picture, the significance of research methodology is seen to provide the design according to objective hypotheses and suitable method, then develop the design according to the nature of the research, analyze and quality assurance and development, and finalize for marketing. So we are going different aspects. The research methodology handling all the aspects, and the last complete successful researches. This slide shows the circular chart after selection of population, problem, define plan, design, construct, testing, deploy, and support for finalizing. This basis is the total process of research methodology according to the nature of research. This is process of successful research by research methodology. It is necessary for a researcher to design a methodology and according to the need of the problem chosen. Even if the method considered in two problems, but the method may be different. It is important for a researcher to know not only the research methods necessary for undertaken research work, but also the methodology. For example, a researcher not only needs to know how to calculate mean, variations, and distribution functions for a set of data, how to find a solution of a physical system described by mathematical model, how to determine the tools of algebra equation, and how to apply a particular method, but also need to know which is a suitable method for chosen problem. Number 2, what is the order of accuracy of the result of the method? 3, what is the effecting or efficiency of the method, and so on. Consideration, all these aspects constitute a research methodology. And now, more precisely, research methodology concerned with the following. Number 1, What is a particular research study undertaken? How did one formulate a research problem? What type of data were collected? What particular method has been used? And why was a particular data analyzed and used? So I take this in this chart. There are research methods, and research methodology is switching the methods, giving energy, giving power to the methods, and to switch up for providing and to work in better way, in successful way. Also, research method choose the best method out of them and the best way to collecting data and best analysis of the result. So this picture shows the methods and the role of methodology. A significant role of methodology, research methodology. And now the flow chart of research methodology. In this flow chart, the role of research methodology, we are showing the role of research methodology. The main objective of research methodology is to produce by which the researcher go about their work for describing, evaluating, and predicting. In this flow chart, the first step is to identify the problem. The identify the problems will take more time because it is very difficult to identify the correct problem. And then the motivation to motivate the researchers to work on this problem. Then define the objective of research. According to the need of this problem, the researcher should define the objective of the problem, and after this, the research methodology give the design and the development of solutions of the different problems coming on the way of research methodology or research. And then building simulation, demonstration, then testing, and then conclusion. So in research methodology, the main aim is to give the work plan of research, total work plan, and it provides training in choosing methods for the solution of the problem. For example, if our research is exploratory, in nature, qualitative methods such as interviews and focus groups would likely be good fit. Conversely, if the research aims to measure specific variables of test hypothesis, large-scale survey, they produce large volumes of numerical data would likely be a better fit. So now, these points are showing procedure. Research methodology is the main to start from the very beginning and till the end. So number one is research methodology is developing scientific attitude, objectivity, critical thinking, and solution of difficulties. It provides tools to look at these objectives. Read and think carefully. It is providing the chance to think critically on the problem of research, then recognize the applications, advancement in human knowledge, furnish guidelines for solving difficulties, play a vital role to enhance the quality, leads to the recognizing of modern materials, modern living things, and much more. It is also searching the solution of the difficulties and leads to the modern lifestyle, and fills it with glory and happiness. Designing a methodology is necessary for the difficulty which is going to solve, and the researcher has to do this thing. Research methodology is important because researchers should not know only about the problem, but also about the method of solving it. Following points are explaining the role of research methodology in solving the difficulties. Number one is, it aids in selecting the best method to solve the problem. Second, it tells about the output of selected method and its accuracy. Number third, it adds in knowledge the efficiency of the method, and now I want to clear the difference between how research methodology is different from research method. On first day of the webinar, on 10th, Dr. Sible Niman of Bangladesh highlighted on this point also. In my point of view, research methodology is different from meaning. Research methodology signifies a way to solve a research problem, and the research method employed by the researcher to conduct research. Number two, what is it? The research methodology is science of understanding how research is performing methodology, and the research method is behavior and instrument used in the selection and construction of tools or technique. Number three, research methodology is comprise the study of different technique which can be utilized in the performance of experiment, test, survey, and the research method carrying out the experiment, test, survey, and so on. And number four difference is on the basis of objective. Research methodology objective is to apply correct procedure so as to determine the solution, and the research method discover solution to research problem. The research methodology refers to the overreaching strategy and rationale of research. It involves studying the method used in the field and the theories or principles behind them in order to develop an approach that matches the objectives. Methods are the specific tools and procedures to use to collect and analyze data. For example, experiments, surveys, and statistical tests. In a longer or more complex research project, such as a thesis of vegetation, we will probably include a methodology section where we explain the approach to answering the research questions, and cite relevant resources to support the choice of method. My next point is how to write a research methodology. It is very important. I jot down some steps for this. Number one step is to explain methodological approach. Begin by introducing the overall approach to the research. What research problem or question investigate? For example, did your aim to systematically describe the characteristics of something? To explore an under-researched topic, to establish a cause and effect relationship? And what type of data did you need to achieve this aim? The questions may be, did you need quantitative data which expressed in numbers, or qualitative data which expressed in words? Second question may be, did you need to collect primary data yourself, or did you use secondary data that was collected by someone else? Number three, did you gather experimental data by controlling and manipulating variables, or descriptive data by gathering observations without intervening? All these depends on the discipline and approach. You might also begin with a discussion of the rationale and assumptions underpinning by your methodology. Some questions are also important. Why this is the most suitable approach to answering your research question? Second, maybe, is this a standard methodology in your field, or does it require justification? Number three, were these only ethical or philosophical consideration? Number four, what are the criteria for validity and reliability in this or in a special type of research? In a quantitative experimental study, you might aim to produce generalization or generalizable knowledge about the cause of a phenomenon. Valid research requires a carefully designed study under controlled conditions that can be replicated by other researchers. In a qualitative methodology, you might aim to produce contextual real work, knowledge about the behaviors, social structures, and shared belief of a specific group of people. This methodology is less controlled and more interpretative. The second step is to describe method of data collection. In quantitative research, for valid generalization, results detailed methodology should be described. Explain how you operationalized concepts and measures your variables. Your sample method or inclusion criteria and any tools, procedures, and materials you use to data. In surveys, describe where, when, and how survey was conducted. There may be some questions with this point. How you design the questions and what form did they take? For example, the questions may be multiple choice or other type. Second question may be, what sampling method did you use to select participants? Third questions may be, did you conduct survey by phone, by mail, online, or in personal? And how long did participants have to respond? Next question may be, what was the sample size and response rate? You might want to include full questionnaire as an appendix, so your reader can see exactly what data was collected. Now experiments. In experiments, give full details of the tools, techniques, and procedures. Whatever you used to conduct the experiments. Regarding to this experiment, the questions may be, how did you design the experiment? How did you select participants? How did you manipulate and measure the variables? There may be another question. What tools or techniques did you use in the experiment? In experimental research, it is especially important to give enough details for another researcher to produce your research or results. The existing data may be explain how you gathered and selected material such as publications or another data for inclusion in your analysis. The questions may be, where did you source the material? How was the data originally produced? What criteria did you use to select materials? For example, the data ranging from different numbers. In qualitative method, we can take an example. The survey consisted of 5 multiple choice type questions and 10 questions that were measured on 5-point scale. The aim was to conduct the survey with 350 villagers, village A, on the permission by the Panchayat Pradhan. On 9 September or any date, at 11 a.m., the participants were given 5 minutes to fill in the survey anonymously, and 350 people responded because not all surveys were fully completed. 320 survey results were included in the analysis. In qualitative method, since methods are often more flexible and subjective, it's important to refer on the approach you took and explain the choice of you made. Explain the context in which the research was conducted and the role you played in collecting the data. For example, were you an active participant or a passive observer? Interviews or focus groups? Describe where, when, and how the interviews were conducted. In participant observation, describe where, when, and how you conducted the observation or ethnography. Existing data explain how you selected case study, materials such as text or image for the focus of images. And our step 3 is describe method of analysis. For this step, you should indicate how you processed and analyzed the data. Avoid presenting or discussing any going into too much details. You should not start presenting or discussing any of your result at this stage. In quantitative methods, Your analysis will be based on numbers, and in quantitative research, the analysis will be based on language, images, or observations. The interviews were transcribed and thematic analysis was conducted. And the fourth step is evaluate and justify the methodological choice. In this stage, the methodology should make the case easy for where you choose the particular method, especially if you didn't take the most standard approach to your topic. Lab-based experiments can always accurately stimulate real-life situations, behavior, but they are effective for testing causal relationship between variables. The methodology section should clearly show why your method suits your objective and you choose the best possible approach to answer your problem. Statement and research questions. Your methodology can be strengthened by reference to existing research in the field. Your methodology should be clear, well-structured text that makes as argument for your approach, not just a list of technical details and procedure. And can I take 10 minutes more?
Yes,
Hello?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So I indicate only the types of methodology. In quantitative method, the tools may be survey research related to the survey research and correlational research, and also experimental research. And in qualitative methods, we can take the questionnaire, the focus group, on-call interviews, and innovative research. My last slide is quantitative versus qualitative research. And I have selected some points. Number one is focus on research. The quality, nature, and essence. And the quantity, how much, how many. In philosophical truths, phenomenology, symbolic interaction. And in quantitative, positivism, logical, and empirism. Number third is associated phrases. In qualitative, fieldwork, ethnographic, naturalistic, and grounded and subjective. In quantitative research, experimental, empirical, and statistics. Fourth is goal of investigation. In quality, it is understanding, description, discovery, hypothesis, generating. In quantitative, prediction, control, description, confirmation, hypothesis testing. And next, design characteristics. Flexible, evaluating, emergent, predetermined, structured, natural, familiar, and in quantitative, unfamiliar, artificial. The sample in quality sample may be small, non-random theoretical, and in quantity, the sample may be random. And the researcher is primary instrument, interviews, observation in qualitative. And in quantitative, intimate instruments, scale, test, survey, questions, computers. Mode of analysis, inductive, by the researchers, and last, findings. In qualitative method, comprehensive and holistic findings. And in quantitative method, precise, narrow, and reductionized. So, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was
Yeah.
really a lucid explanation, ma'am. It was really a wonderful presentation, ma'am. Now,
Thank you,
Ravi
thank
sir
you.
has
Sorry.
congratulated
So my
us,
time is
absolutely.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Dr. Hemalata, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Ravi
Welcome.
sir has applause.
Ma'am, actually, I am speechless. Actually, so far now, I've seen a young student for many sessions asking questions, etc. And today she has become a professor, and she has given a fantastic session. Actually, hardly 13 slides, and awesome it was. Thank you, madam.
Yes,
So
yes,
nice of you.
Absolutely. So, do we have any questions from the participant? They can unmute themselves. They can unmute them.
Is not coming. Unmute. Yeah.
Shushavan sir, if you have any question.
You are hearing me?
Yes, madam.
Yes, ma'am. Very well, very well.
Yes, madam. Really, I do not have a question. I learned a lot today from my teacher, Professor Hemlata. I learned a lot. The procedure, you gave a comprehensive presentation about significance of methodology and writing research paper. Generally, we say to our students, the MA or PhD student, we say that the researcher's problem is to find the problem. The time he found it, the problem is solved. That goes back to the information that you gave just now. Now, what about finding the problem? What are the ways, the procedures for the student to find the problem? Problem that is a topic which he is going to find, to search for. Are there certain or specific procedures for the researcher to follow to find a problem from the time of starting with the literature review?
Hello?
Yes.
Worship?
Yes, I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah. So you are asking me question?
Yeah.
What is your question?
Madam, it is not a question, this is an inquiry. I understand everything you have said. Everything is clear. I learned today, I learned a lot from you, madam.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
With your explanation, with your presentation, you answered all the questions that I have in my mind. But there is an inquiry. What about finding the problem? Generally, we say the researcher's problem is to find the problem.
Yes.
The time we found it, the problem is solved. That is to follow the things, the information that you have just said just now. Now, is there any technique or method or way for the researcher to find the problem that is a topic to write and to search in? If there are certain procedures, it's my pleasure to hear from you.
Many procedures.
Maybe.
many methods, many procedures, or many techniques we can use for the findings. Thank you, Asif. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Madam, Hamilton madam,
Yeah.
you will be happy that David sir has joined and was listening to you.
Oh, thank you very much. So kind of you, sir. Professor Govindraj, so kind of you
Ma'am,
for
pleasure's
hearing
mine.
me.
Thank you so much.
David sir is also there, ma'am. He is listening to you, David sir. David.
Oh, David sir is here. Good afternoon, David sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Good afternoon.
Hi,
A very
hi
little
Hemlata,
Hamilton.
how are you?
Uh,
How are you?
so you hear my talk?
I did. Wonderful, wonderful as always. Very
You
comprehensive.
like? You like?
Yes, I did. Very comprehensive.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes.
Welcome to India.
Yeah, thank you again. Thank you again.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
if
very
you don't
much.
have any, right, ma'am, if you don't
Good
have any
evening.
questions, yes. If we don't have any questions from the participants, Shiva Shakti madam, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Right. So what do we do? Should we proceed with the next?
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
David said,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
all right.
David, sir, good afternoon. I welcome you, sir.
Good. Good afternoon. How,
Good afternoon. On behalf of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University.
Say again?
Tamil Nadu. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Hello.
Tamil Nadu, India. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome, Mr. David. Ravi Govindraj from Qatar.
Thank you.
So let us start with the third session. With
Okay.
due permission from Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, should I, Ravi sir, should I?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am, please go.
Okay. We have with us the next eminent speaker, Associate Professor David Gore, lectures and researchers in educational leadership at the University of Melbourne. He has more than 180 publications and over 200 presentations at major conferences. David, sir, is editor of International Studies in Educational Administration and a senior associate editor of the Journal of Educational Administration. He is the executive of the Commonwealth Council of Educational Administration and Management. We are extremely delighted and happy to invite you to speak on the sub-theme, Multiple Perspectives and Observational Case Study Research as used in the International Successful School Principalship Study and the International Leadership Development Network. May I now request David, sir, to take over the session. Sir, please.
Great. So you
Dr.
should be able
Hemlata,
to.
ma'am. Please, okay.
You should be able to see my. Okay, you should be able to see my screen now. So I'm assuming you can. Yes.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. You can proceed.
Good. Excellent. Okay. Again, thank you for Professor Telestra Hemlata presentation. It was great to hear her again, and great to be with you all again. I just wanted to put this up just to remind myself that a couple of years ago I was in India in Udaipur at the RCAM conference, and Dr. Mahanta, we met there, and I gather some other people in the audience I probably have met at that conference as well. But Hemlata, it was a wonderful time and a great opportunity then. And I noticed that you had Professor Ken Bryan before, and he gave a wonderful keynote at that conference. So nice to be with you. So I think the session that I'm doing will flow on very well from Hemlata's session. So you heard about the major distinction in research in education between the quantitative and qualitative, and all the variations and the reasons why we have those, and that notion of methodology and methods. And so what I'm doing today with you is to talk to you about one large international project. And so this is a project that's been going for many years, and it will help reinforce many of the topics and the seminars that you've been having over the last week. So this project is called the International Successful School Principalship Project. As you can read, it's been going for nearly 20 years. Began in 2002 with only 7 countries, and now we have over 20 countries and more than 100 case studies around the world. In fact, it's probably 200 case studies around the world. Sorry, let's just go back one. It relies on using interviews with principals and teachers and school board members, students, parents, and focused on this notion of characteristics of successful principals leading successful schools. We have 4 project books, several other books from country groups. We've got 9 special journal issues, more than 100, in fact, again, more than 200 referee journal papers. And the last time I looked at it, there are at least 11 different models that were used to conceptualize it. I've given the website address here, and Dr. Mahanta, I'll give you an updated presentation, which you're more than able to share with anyone that wants it. The website address there, though, if you Google ISSPP, you'll find it easily, the website. And I'm drawing on a large document of research protocols. It's some 50 pages long, but those protocols I can't share with you because they're only available to project members. In terms of the countries, this gives you some sense of, this is a couple of years ago when I last updated this diagram, but it gives you some sense of the range of countries that we're reporting on. You'll notice that we don't have anyone in India researching in the ISSPP, and so there's certainly an opportunity for folks such as yourself to become involved. You can get in touch with me, or the leader of this project is Professor Chris Day from Nottingham University. So Professor Chris Day from Nottingham University. But as I said, you can get in touch with me. I'm more than happy to talk to you about this. So this is just a statement from Professor Brian Caldwell, who's was my professor when I did my doctorate many years ago, and he made this comment about the ISSPP. So it's a substantial project, worth attending to, and all I'm doing today is using this as a vehicle for you to consider further your research methods and methodologies that you've been talking about. So as you heard, you've got to have a question, don't you? You've got to have a reason for doing your research, and so these are the sort of 5 big ideas that have driven our research more recently, and so you can see we have a range of things that we're looking at. So we're looking at successful principles across national context, and that's very important because even within a country, you think of a country as complex as India, you have so many different contexts. And so even within your country, you'll be wanting to look at people leading your schools in many of those different contexts. And by doing that, we're looking to see how countries have different ways of defining success. How do things like high stake assessments and accountabilities impact? And with that third question, you can really say, how do government policy environments impact on these principles? Do the different socioeconomic contexts in which schools operate impact on the work of the principals? Is it different to lead in a school in challenging circumstances to one that's more advantaged, for example? Do you need different qualities and skills? Do you need to have different skills leading in a rural community compared to a city community? And how do principles that we would regard as being successful, how do they come to be successful, and how do they remain successful? How do they keep their schools going? So they're our research questions. And as again, your presenters have told you, you need to start with some research questions. In terms of the design, the essential, I should say, and I have put, after hearing Hemlata's presentation, I put down the last 3 dot points to connect a little bit with her presentation. And so this ISSPP is largely a qualitative and naturalistic study. Okay. We do have a survey, and I'll come to that later, but we don't use that very often. So it's mostly a qualitative and naturalistic study. The major methodologies are case study and grounded design. And I know the people from Canada the other day were talking about grounded design. Okay, case study and grounded design. And by case study, we simply mean that each school is a case study. So we go and find a principal who's successful in a successful school, and that school becomes our case study. Okay, and the grounded design means that the questions we ask are not so driven by theories or views or expectations. It's more about having broad open questions that we can go in and explore what's happening. And so we have, within those methodologies of case study and grounded design, we have a number of research methods, and that's what I'm going to talk about. So this is a multiple perspective, we collect multiple perspective data about successful principals. And multiple perspective means different views. Teachers, students, parents, governors, if you have governors, board people, and so forth. And the other aspect is that it's a collaborative research project across many countries. And so that brings another level of complexity, because we can start to compare case studies across countries. Okay, how do we, so we've got a research question, we've got methodologies of case study and grounded design, and we've got a range of methods. So then we've got to choose people to study. And so we are looking at principals and schools that are successful. So we're looking for, to get these people, we look at evidence of student achievement that are beyond just being good, that are beyond expectations on state and national tests where they exist. Now, not all countries have those. Not all areas have those, but where countries do have them, we use them, okay, because they're good evidence. The second point is that we can also talk to people, and you can go into an area and say, which are the principles that you regard as being successful? And so reputation can be another criteria for selecting the principles. And then there are other examples of success. There could be a school might win awards. There could be national awards or local awards. There might be some school review documents. Depends again on the context and where you are. But those three things: some evidence of student learning outcomes that are beyond expectations, that the principal is regarded as being successful, and that there might be other measures of success like awards. So those three things. And then within a country, we want a range of schools. So we're not just looking at the same schools. And so we look for differences in size. We look for differences in type of school. Is it a primary school? Is it a secondary, a senior secondary, junior secondary, that sort of thing. We're also looking for location, city locations, rural locations, poor areas, rich areas, male and female principals. We tend to want to have principals that have been at the school for at least 3 years, because you want to get a sense that they've actually made a contribution to the school. Okay, so variety in terms of the schools that we have, and across the world we've got schools of all sorts. And this is where it comes into being a multiple perspective case study. So we have interviews with different people, as I said, individual interviews. Okay, generally open-ended invitational questions to these different people. Then we have group interviews where we can with parents and students, and sometimes teachers. Now, not in all contexts can you do parent and student interviews. So I have a colleague in Japan, and in the Japanese context, doing parent and student interviews was actually quite difficult to arrange. Okay, so just it's where you can do these things. We also look for appropriate documents that might help us. So it can be school brochures, it can be reports, whatever. We spend some time observing the work of the principals and the functioning of the school. So just as part of the research, we look at what's going on in the school, and we look at the actual work of the principal. And we do have for those people that do like quantitative methods, we do have a teacher survey that we're developing, and this will be used at the school level. So once we get the survey developed, the case studies will actually become not only multiple perspective, but they'll become mixed method, in that they'll both be qualitative and quantitative. And so the actual interviews that we do, so for the principal, there'll be up to 5 individual interviews, and these will go for about an hour. For teachers, we're looking at a total of 6 to 8 individual interviews, and that could be with 2 to 4 senior teachers and middle leaders, and 4 to 6 teachers, okay, with a variety of experience. So some that are new, some that have been there for a while, and maybe some that have been there prior to the principal arriving. Where there is a school board or council or governance of some sort, then we look to interview the chairperson and 1 other member of that board. And then, as I said, we do group interviews with students and parents. It's easier to do the group interviews, and those students and parents feel more comfortable doing a group interview than individual interviews. Okay, we do digitally record the interviews, and in many cases we provide a transcript back to the participants of the interview. Not in all cases, but in many cases. As you know, transcription's time-consuming and costly, but certainly for the principal and some of the teachers, you want to have those interview transcripts to work with. Group interviews are very difficult to transcribe because getting the voice, who's speaking, is very difficult. Of course, technology is helping us with transcriptions because, as you know, there are actually many services now that provide a cost-effective way of doing this, largely through online provision. Okay, so in terms of the interviews, what do they look like? So they're one-to-one or group. They're normally 45 minutes to an hour, and we have an interview protocol that we follow. Okay. Importantly, when you're working with schools, you have to fit with the school. So you have to timetable and to fit within the school requirements. Okay. Each of the questions we have will often have a prompt or an additional question. And on the left there of that screen, over here, I've provided you with a question, could you please describe what it's like for you as the principal of a school to be designated as its leader? And then you can see underneath it, there's a prompt. Depending on what answer you get, you might want to ask another question, and we've given you an example. Are there aspects of your work from which you derive special satisfaction, or times when you feel isolated or vulnerable? Okay, and so those prompt questions allow you to tease out an answer, but it depends on the person who's answering. Some people are very good at answering questions, and you don't need the prompts because they don't have trouble supplying you with an answer. Some people struggle, and so then you use prompt questions. So the interviews are semi-structured. They do have a structure to them, and depending on the answers you get, you'll go through more or less of those questions. Again, this is your skill as an interviewer. So to ask all the questions is probably not possible. So you're hoping that in answering one question or an early question, they're actually answering the other later question as well. Okay. We do look at documents, and this is important when schools have, not all schools have these, but when they do, it's important to collect these. And these are the sorts of things that you can get. So a school development plan, a school prospectus, inspection reports, newsletters, media coverage, websites. Just again, it depends on the context and the school, how much of this that will be available to you. Observation. Looking at the principal and observing the school is also part of what we do. And this table, which is not reproduced very well, but that's from an actual doctoral study of one of my students, where they went into 2 schools and they spent about 24 hours of observation in each school. And this just breaks it down. They did a school tour. They looked at some leadership meetings. They observed some assemblies. They went to a school council meeting. They followed the principal for 1 day in each school. They went to some staff meetings, and then they looked at other activities like sporting events or something. Okay, and from those observations, you keep a journal entry of what you're observing that you can use later on. And in terms of the analysis of all this, you're doing what's called an inductive cross-case analysis. And Miles and Huberman are one of the go-to authors for qualitative analysis, and so we use them. And this grid sort of shows you what it means by that. So down the left there are some of the areas that we're looking at, major challenges of the school, and then we summarise what we're getting from all the data that we've collected, the interviews, the individual and group interviews, and we provide supporting evidence and quotes. Now you can imagine that this table, while it fits on your screen, when you're actually working with this is going to become a large spreadsheet. Okay, and it's going to get very complex. For those of you that are familiar with qualitative analysis software, this is where that software becomes almost indispensable to you. So things like in vivo are important to use if you have access to them. If you don't, you can still do it with this grid. And in the past, I've spread out these grids on paper across a whole classroom, filling a whole classroom with all the different paper that provides the evidence for this using this grid. That describes the ISSPP in terms of its research. Multiple perspective case studies, using interviews, individual and group, document analysis, and observation. Okay. There is another project that I am involved with as well, the International Leadership Development Network. And in the promo, I did say I was going to talk to you about this. I just left it out because it's very similar to the ISSPP. In fact, their research protocols were based on the ISSPP. But this slide just shows you a web address that you can access. And again, I'll provide Dr. Mahanta with this presentation, so you don't have to worry about it. You'll be able to get this presentation and look at all this. Okay. So I think at this stage it'd be good to open up the questions. And can I suggest that the questions can both be to Hemlata and myself, because there's, in essence, what I've presented here for you this afternoon is an example of some of the ideas that Hemlata was talking about in her presentation. So we'll open up to questions at that point. Oh, and can I just say before I go, in the actual slide package, I've got a whole lot of other stuff that I've just put in, which provides a bit more information about the project and models and things like that. In fact, this model here that I'm showing was one that Nada, some of you at the comments will remember Nada Jani was presenting with me, and this is a model that she created from the project, and we presented at the RCEAM conference in Udaipur. So you've got a whole lot of material there, in addition to what I've talked about now about the project that you can follow with. Okay, so you're welcome to get in touch with me, but at the moment let's open up to some questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Like sir, in his paper, he highlighted two of the major international educational leadership projects of the past 2 decades and how these projects have used case studies that include multiple perspective interviews, document collection, and observation. The presentation described both projects' detailed principle and school selection criteria. It described methods used and the strengths and limitation. It was really indeed a wonderful presentation, sir.
I hope it's helpful.
Can I?
It will definitely be helpful. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. David, congratulations for your nice
Thank
presentation. You. And your presentation is based totally on the research and research projects, which is very neat this time. And your data are also related to the perspective of data is successful principles and observational case studies with the 2 groups, interviews of students and parents. You also included the parents, students, and teachers also. So very good. Yeah. And taking semi-structured interviews also. So very good. And for congratulations for this nice project and nice study. Thank you.
Nice to see you again, as always.
Now the session.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Right. Now the session is open for, I think the participant can unmute themselves and ask questions or any queries if they have. Shiva Shakti, madam?
Yes, I added.
Okay, okay. Participants, if any, please unmute yourself. Wasif sir, any questions?
Wasif, unmute.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Now it's okay. Thank you very much. Really, we have, lucky today, we have good presentations and gave informative, and they are very clear. And really, they returned us to our previous days where we sit and learn from these scholars. The three presenters today are very successful. Congratulations to all of you.
Yeah.
Your presentation was also wonderful, sir. What's up, sir?
Very kind of you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Very kind of you.
Shiva Shakti, madam,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
if there is any questions or queries.
No, ma'am. Dr. David, sir, thank you so much for Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University and Thoothukudi College
Thank
of
you.
Education. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
sir.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Good opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Shiva Shakti, madam,
Yes, ma'am.
should we propose a vote of thanks?
Yes, ma'am.
Should we
Yes, ma'am.
propose
Yes,
a
ma'am.
vote of thanks?
Go ahead. Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Right, right. Actually, all the speakers were really awesome. All the speakers, and
Yes,
they
ma'am.
they
Short.
maintained a time limit. This is wonderful.
Short and sweet.
David sir, right. David sir, like really, David sir's time was different, but he managed to be with us.
Oh,
He really
it's a
managed
pleasure.
to be with us. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
As I said, it's a pleasure.
Really,
And
really.
time difference was not so great. I was involved in a conference in Europe last week, and that was meant very late in the morning, or very late in the night. Attending that, this was good, and a pleasure again to be with you.
Right, sir. So what is the time now?
Oh, it's quarter to 7 at night, so 6:40 at night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And Bobby, I have emailed you the presentation, the updated one, so you've got that.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. So may we request Rakesh sir to propose the vote of thanks?
Audible, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Yes.
It's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this 6th webinar day. This is marathon webinar, and
Rakesh
on the behalf of
Rakesh sir,
Your
Yes.
voice is break.
your
Your voice is breaking.
it's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on the 6th webinar day. On behalf of the Qualitative College of Education, extended a hearty vote of thanks to honorable delegates who blessed us with their presence. I would like to extend a special thanks to Dr. Arun Kumar Goswami sir, Professor Hemlata ma'am, and Dr. David Gung sir for your nice presentation and nice explanation. Also, I must mention our deep sense of appreciation, Dr. P. Shivashakti madam and Dr. Bobby Mohanty madam for the organizing this marathon webinar. This is our 6th day. I extend my big thanks to Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University for their support. Thank you all the participants, all the panelists for making this event successful with your contribution. Thank you all. Thank you all the teachers. And now we are like a family because of this is our 6th day in collaboration. 6th day webinar we are arranged. We feel this is our family. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Hemlata ma'am.
Thank you, Rakesh. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Once again, thank you so much, Dr. David sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Rasab sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Hemalata ma'am. Thank you so much, Dr. Ravi Ondara sir. Thank you so much, Rakesh sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Bobby ma'am. Thank you so much, Dr. Arun Kumar sir. And thank you so much, all the panelists, and thank you so much, all the participants.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Mr. Rakesh, maybe we are unable to get the thanks note actually. So next time it can be taken care.
Voice was breaking. Voice was breaking.
It was a bit breaking. When we are giving the thanks note to people, it should reach the people.
Yeah, but sir, excuse me, but we got it because it is coming from his heart.
Oh,
Exactly.
lovely.
Even
I
even
got that
the
language
sound is
actually. So thank
breaking,
you so
but
much.
the face expressions send the message. Thank you
Exactly,
very
sir.
much.
Thank you.
so
We
much.
got it
Thank you
anyway.
so much,
So we'll take
Rasap
care
Thanks
of
to
it.
sir. Rasap
all,
sir,
Thank you
thank
very
you
much
so
and
much.
for
special
wonderful
thanks
session.
to Dr.
The
Gur,
people over was
David,
here in this day today. They got
Yeah.
3 awesome
because
sessions today.
in odd
Some of the
hours
people were asking for
we invite you.
the
Thanks a
PPT.
lot.
Mr. David has already given the details, so don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, madam. Thank
Okay.
you, Hemlata
Pleasure.
madam. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Okay, thank you.
Dr.
Till
Shashakti
meet
madam, Dr.
tomorrow.
Bobby madam,
Tomorrow, bye
Dr.
bye.
Rashid. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
we will
Bye-bye.
meet tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye, Hemlata.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Bobby.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
That's good. Bye-bye.
Bye, sir. Bye.
See you, sir. See you, sir.
Bye.
See you,
Bye.
sir.
Bye, Bobby.
See you.
Pleasure working with you. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Really, sir. Really, sir. Awesome.
Bye.
Professor Arun Kumar sir, there. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Arun sir is there. Manoj sir is there. Everybody, like our speakers are awesome. Seriously. Seriously.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
have no words to
Thank
thank
you.
you, one of them. Really.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
God bless, sir. God bless. God
Yeah.
bless.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Bobby ma'am, it's enough feedback
Yes.
from
Yes. Yes.
if you want some more time, ma'am, feedback from.
No, that's absolutely all right, madam. Because even our experts, they are always busy, no? That's the reason.
No,
But they have
ma'am.
made it. I mean, really, Shiva Shakti ma'am, I should say, really means instantly they agreed. No, this is something. Really, it's
Thank
really
you
a
so
blessing
much.
to have them.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
All right, see you. God bless. God bless.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. 130 participants there. So I sent in feedback from now itself. Bobby ma'am, shall I wind up the session?
Yes, please. I was waiting for you only. See you.
Participants, last time only we posted feedback from now, ma'am.
Yes. We can share it in the group, huh? We can share
No,
it in
ma'am.
the
No,
group.
ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Only participated participants only fill the feedback.
Okay, fine.
So that's
Then
the
that's
reason. That's the reason, ma'am, please. Ma'am.
okay, fine.
Because 1,500 people are there in our group. But today participated only 400 people only.
Okay.
127 participants.
That's it.
So we think one more session is available.
Luckily, you see, like
Time to the 2:15 is over, no? Very nice.
I was really worried because even Arun sir's power supply was not there. So he somehow managed. Then David sir, his timing and
Yes.
really. Tomorrow just one and
Yes, ma'am.
one speaker tomorrow. Kishori ma'am was also there today.
Tomorrow we will start 11. Participants are allowed at 11 a.m. and validity function
11:30 we
start
can.
11:30 a.m. Okay.
Fine. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. See you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Bobby, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Subrata Mandal,
Stay.
ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Barnasri, Miss. Thank you, all the participants. Thank you so much. Finish the session.